Hotspur America is back with Vass, Tim, and yours truly to talk about the transfer window and the new addition to Tottenham's roster and the role they'll play for our club. We'll talk a bit about Harry, a bit about Dele, and a lot about Poch, and take a look ahead to the Everton and Champions League campaigns. All that and much more brought to you by the Community Beer Company, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. Next.
I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
Hotspur America. From the United States to N17, this is the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
When you're at a club like Tottenham, they expect you to win all the time. Be the best club in the country as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to you each week during the season.
Spurs in full cry here. Lamela! Oh, what a goal! And Christian Eriksen has scored!
I hate Arsenal. I just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! And Cafu has put Tottenham in front! Kane comes to the Emirates, scores for Spurs.
We're the Yids in America.
Carried away, but Dempsey's there to tap in!
To dare is to do.
Tottenham Hotspur turning on the style. Glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. The Spurs are still marching on.
This is Hotspur America. Welcome back to the Hotspur America podcast, episode 6, season 4. We are going to talk everything transfer window related. Now that the window, thank God, is over. And I can't believe that I see people on Twitter still wanting, or just now wanting to talk about the winter window. It drives me crazy a little bit because I feel like I've pulled a hamstring trying to get through this window. Obviously, the Barkley to Tottenham connection still exists, and I guess that's what people are wanting to talk about. We'll get into that all very soon. Joining me this morning, Vass, who's vacationing in Cyprus. So if we lose Vass from here to there, it's because he has a dodgy connection out there. But Vass, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks, Ken. Also glad that the transfer window's finally over. Enjoying some sunshine and good to be with you again.
Yeah, good to have you back, man. I always love talking to you about all things Spurs. Tim, Mr. 10 Pints, I know it's a bit early on a Sunday, so you're not quite there yet, but how are you, B?
I'm doing good. I'm actually rested for this pod. No late casino nights for me. I actually wanted to go. I wanted to go last night, and the missus kind of put her foot down and said no, so that was probably a good thing, but I did want to go last night.
Good, yeah. We don't need you getting in trouble at our, especially at our expense when you're between us and the casino. It's a lot of time away, so I'm glad you get to enjoy that. We're gonna jump right in.
I love gambling. I love it.
See, and I'm not like that. It's not my thing. I'll spend like $20 and it's gone in 10 minutes, and then I look back on it and it seems like I spent $200 that was gone in 10 minutes, and so I never go back to it. I mean, nickel quarter poker with the boys, that's one thing, but we might have to do that. We got to figure out a way to have like a Hotspur America poker night. It'd be kind of fun.
Well, you can have a table on PokerStars or something. Just
there we go.
Online game.
I know Sammy's kind of big into the whole poker scene. Timmy, what is it? Poker is your game, or are you a roulette guy, or what do you?
I like blackjack, roulette, not at the Oklahoma casinos because it's electronic and I don't trust that, so it's not a ball spinning around. But I like roulette, blackjack.
Okay. We put out some stuff on Twitter asking for some questions, and we'll dive into those as we get into this transfer window talk. Timmy, I guess I'll start with you. Mike Huggins, who's at Mike Huggins 33 on Twitter, asks, Kane repeatedly says that he is not going anywhere. There's not even a release clause in his contract, from what I understand. How much weight do you think that this carries with other players who could make moves to bigger clubs? Does that matter, do you think?
I think it matters when you have arguably your best player saying that he's committed for the future. I think that does carry weight with other players looking to potentially move abroad or move to another club within the Premier League. So, I mean, yeah, I think it does carry weight. And arguably, I mean, he is our best player. He could be sold for the highest wage or the highest transfer fee of anyone on our squad right now. I know there's been reports about Dele, but I seriously think Kane would go for a higher. I think, he could be a player moving on right now that could shatter the world record. Mm-hmm. And I don't really have any doubts about that given, what he's done so far. Golden Boot 2 seasons in a row, and he's still young. Hasn't even hit, I guess. I mean, imagine if this is not his prime, because he's not at that age yet where players typically hit their prime. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's huge to have a player like that committing his future to the club.
I think it is too. And Vass, when you look at that, and most could arguably say that he is truly the captain of this team. Lloris wears the band, and Dembele has been here longer, at least on the first team, and a few others as well. But it seems as how he goes is how the squad goes. How much pressure does that put on Kane to like not make one little slip up, or a lot of that could be shattered?
It could do. I think he's setting the standard. He's definitely a Spurs man, by the sounds of it. Was, I don't know if any of you guys or the listeners heard the Danny Rose interview that he gave on 5 Live early in the summer, BBC 5 Live, not the one he gave on a newspaper recently, but he intimated in that interview that and the type of person who wanted to break records at Spurs, for example, because he was drawing the comparison that players are different. Some players want to move on, or they have different objectives. But Harry, one of those guys who wanted Spurs to break records and achieve things at Spurs. So he's really the Spurs player for the foreseeable future role, and yeah, indeed, he's the real captain behind Hugo.
Yeah, it really does. You know, it's cause for pause, right? And it makes you concerned a little bit that if Harry were to do anything that said or hinted that he wanted to move away, that other players would, you know, like, well, what am I doing here if he's not going to be here? As he is arguably one of the top, I don't know, you got to think one of the top, you know, 2 or 3 players in the Premier League as it stands, and he's surrounded by what seems to be a very committed group of players. So obviously we're talking about the bigger one, you know, the Deles and the Ericssons and those players, Hugo himself. You know, would they want to move on? Do they want to finish their careers? You know, these are very short careers, and you know, to have an opportunity to go play at Bayern Munich or PSG or Real Madrid, Barcelona, whatever, is awfully enticing. It is a whole different ballgame in terms of commitment and standard. That the English game, yes, they have rabid fans and committed clubs, but there's just a sense to me that it's a different level of commitment to, you know, from the fan standpoint and from the club standpoint in terms of money and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that they're here for the long run, and I'm very much looking forward to having them here for the long run because there are great things happening for sure. And speaking of great things, let's talk about this window. It wasn't, 2 weeks ago, everybody was having a cow, and Sam was moaning relentlessly on Twitter and Facebook and to anybody who would listen that we had not done anything. And even the pundits were making a big deal about it. As I look at everything that has happened, we've actually done a lot of business and improved our squad, in my opinion, and made money at the same time. I do not know how Daniel Levy does this. Timmy, I'll start with you a little bit. Out, Bentaleb, Ng, Fazio, McGee, Carroll, Walker, Vimmer, Miller, all sold. Onuma goes out on loan. Lopez loan ended. We replaced them with Davinson Sanchez, Gazaniga, Juan Foyth, Serge Aurier, and Fernando Llorente, and then we also made £4.5 million on Siggy's sale because we had a sell-on clause. When you look at the window as a whole, do you look at it as an improvement, or do you look at it as there was still more to be had?
I mean, a little bit of both. Overall, it is an improvement. I think the squad has improved from last season. And of all those players that you mentioned going out, the only ones that were really involved, actually the only one that was really involved last year was Walker. Mm-hmm. Wimmer didn't play much of a role, neither did Onuma. The others were either youth players had been sold by January or were off on loan. So if you're looking at those players, I mean, I think Aurier is an upgrade over Walker on the pitch.
I do.
not talking about off the field, but on the pitch, I think he is a stronger player than Walker. And so you upgrade that. You upgrade on Vimmer. I think Sanchez is an upgrade on him. And so right there, that's strength. That's making the squad stronger. And then you bring in Llorente, who is an upgrade on Janssen. So, looking at the business we did, we have made our squad stronger than we were last year when we finished second in the Premier League. So I'm very happy with what we've done. Now, there was a little bit left out there. The argument can be made that we should have brought in one more attacking midfield option to maybe push Dele, push Eriksen. Maybe Lamela can be that player coming back from injury, but who knows when that'll happen. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think it was a very smart piece of business where we finished with a profit and we improved the squad.
Vass, we heard Sammy talking about Thomas Lemar, and we know that bids of upwards of 70 and almost 80 million pounds were rejected by Monaco, at least for Arsenal. We're not going to spend that kind of money, not yet. We're getting close. It seems like we're getting close, and we're seemingly every transfer window here lately breaking another club record for the amount of money that we're willing to spend. Do you feel we need another pacey, skillful winger to push those players, as Tim alluded to, or is Lamela the answer there?
My stance on this has been mentioned before, in that I don't know whether it is a pacey winger that we need. It seems to come from the fullbacks. So I guess the winger needs maybe redefining, so are singing from the same page. We probably do need a little bit more, but I think we've had there seems to be a reluctant acceptance even from Sam, I think. The Lamar stuff, ideal is like Lamar. A report today saying that Arsenal actually made a bid of 100 million for him. So those are the kind of for players of that ilk. And no matter how badly fans want those types of players, we are never going to be in that market. Mm-hmm. And there has to be some kind of realistic acceptance of our predicament to know this. And I think deep down most Spurs fans do. But in terms of the window as a whole, I think it's probably a good sort of B-. I think we have upgraded, as Tim just said. All the players that went out were players, apart from Walker, that played no role in last season's finish. And I saw that prepared the comparison of ins and outs and how much we risk and how much we spend, and perhaps a legitimate answer to be had as to whether we would have spent that money if we hadn't received the money coming in, which is what a lot of people tend to complain about with Daniel Levy. But bottom line is, it's been good business, and we've upgraded the squad. Mm-hmm. And in we've got a proven Premier League striker. He may not be the flashy name that everyone was once. He's 32, granted. That's why he's only signed a 2-year contract. Yep. But he scored 15 goals for Swansea last season, and he didn't take any penalties. So there's some had for having a chap like him as an option off the bench. We bemoaned options coming off of our bench for quite a while, but now we've got a viable at the very least. Sanchez gives us options in terms of form. He's only 21. He may well be raw, but his ceiling is very high. And Aurier, yes, his troubled past, which I think he will overcome with a bit of luck, and he will be an up-walker. So, I think we've done good business.
Timmy, when you think about Aurier, and you saw, everyone's read some of the comments, especially the official comments that the club puts out on their Twitter feed and social media feeds as they stand, it seems that he is very grateful for the opportunity. Laurent Blanc, I think, had him basically on the outs anyway. Don't want to lose a good footballer, but as a person, listen, he's had his issues, and he comes with baggage. I think Tottenham have made it pretty abundantly clear that he needs to keep his nose clean, or he may end